Hello. The last two Beatitudes are to do with persecution, both of them. And that's kind of fitting because persecution is a huge theme in Christian history, and it's a big theme in the New Testament. The early church was horrifically persecuted. Jesus himself was executed. All the disciples, bar one, were martyred in gruesome ways sometimes. Paul, the apostle of Christianity, was beheaded in Rome, and so on and so on. And there's never been a time when Christians have not been persecuted. Right now, there are Christians in jail or in fear of their life, worshipping in secret, being tortured. This is a present reality that we always live with. And so we come to the penultimate beatitude. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Now, is this ringing any bells? That's right, the first beatitude was kind of similar. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So we have two sets of people that we are told the kingdom of heaven belongs to them. So it's made up of people who are spiritually humble and people who are persecuted for righteousness' sake. Okay? Well, let's look at this. Who do we honour the most in our society? Well, at the moment, with the pandemic and everything, we are really celebrating scientists, doctors, nurses, care workers, support workers, emergency services. Those people are always crucial, but at the moment we feel that particularly, and we really want to put them on a pedestal. At other points in history, other people get raised up or pulled down. There are times in our history when soldiers and anyone who serves in the armed forces has been very highly thought of because the nation's safety, security depends on their willingness to risk their lives. And then there are times when we seem to be a long way from a war, and we don't probably feel as grateful to people who join the armed forces. So Jesus says that the kingdom of heaven, and let's not forget that whatever the kingdom of heaven is, he is using this metaphor of a kingdom, like a country, a nation. The kingdom of heaven, he says, the people that are honoured the most, the people that we just want to hand that kingdom to, that we want to celebrate and put on statues, those people are the people who are poor in spirit and the people who are persecuted for righteousness' sake. Why would we do that? Well, let's do a thought experiment. Let's imagine, if we can, that no woman had ever put themselves in harm's way advocating for women's rights. Now, they may have continued to write letters and make speeches and demonstrations, but imagine no woman had ever been prepared to go to prison or be force-fed or to be ridiculed. Imagine no black person in the US in the civil rights movement had been prepared to go to jail. No one had been prepared to get a beating or even be killed. Imagine that no gay person had ever risked abuse, being shouted at, beaten up in the street, humiliated. Imagine no gay person had ever run the risk of persecution Imagine if all these people had played it safe all the way, where would we be? And I suppose this just makes the point that that world that we dream of is only possible because people are prepared to put themselves in harm's way, even to the point of losing their lives. So the kingdom of heaven's most indispensable citizens will be the spiritually humble and the people who endure persecution in order to make the kingdom a reality. Because the kingdom of heaven, whatever it is, it can't arrive unless people are prepared to put their bodies on the line, their lives. The kingdom of heaven can't even begin until people are prepared to do that. So it makes sense to say that in this kingdom, whatever it is, the people who have brought it about through their sacrifice are the most honoured. And if we think for a minute about why the poor in spirit are so important to the kingdom of heaven, well, remember, poor in spirit means spiritually humble. You don't consider yourself perfect, you don't consider yourself holy, you don't look at yourself and think, well, I'm an example to everybody else. Spiritual and moral progress cannot be made with people who are proud. People who think they are holy cannot make spiritual progress. So these are the two groups, the people that are willing to take a hard look at themselves and say, yes, I need to change, I need to do something better, and people who are prepared to risk their lives. Now I have here a book that is made up of letters written by prisoners on the verge of execution in Nazi Germany. Most of them are Christians, and it's a very moving experience reading those letters. And one or two of the names you come across are well known, like Dietrich Bonhoeffer. But for the most part, as I read this, they're people I've never heard of. And yet, those people, I really want to believe that those people who spoke out, who acted and paid with their lives, I want to believe that they are exalted in a kingdom of heaven somehow, somewhere. Now, for myself, I don't rule it out as a real thing. But I know that that's not where a lot of you are. So, let's look at it another way. Let's imagine a country or a kingdom or a world where the people who have paid the heaviest price to bring it about are the most celebrated. Whatever your kingdom of heaven is, don't you want it to be something like that? Don't you want to say that it's a place that belongs to the humble? Don't you want to say that it's a place that belongs to the people who have sacrificed their lives? People like Oscar Romero, Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Nelson Mandela was prepared to pay with his life, and look what he endured. So I think we're all on the same page here, whatever we think the kingdom of heaven is or isn't. I think we all want to say together, blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Because we owe them everything, don't we? Amen. See you next time.